everybody. I'm here with a good friend of mine, Josh Neumann, and I wanted to take some time to interview Josh. I kind of know a lot about Josh, but I wanted you guys to learn a little bit about him. He's a real creative guy, and he gives back to his community, and he's got a cool new product or a new business that he launched like a year ago or so. So we're going to get you educated on that. But first of all, maybe Josh, just tell them a little bit about you, where you're from, what your favorite hobby is.
Well, I'm originally from Oklahoma. I grew up there until middle school, and then Western Wisconsin and Richmond, Wisconsin, and college in Eau Claire. And about 25, I moved to Minneapolis.
So one thing I learned about you is probably like a couple years into our relationship, and you don't really talk about it a lot, but you were the state high school wrestling champ or something like that?
Yeah, I was come from a long line of wrestlers. I didn't have a choice. I wanted to play hockey, but I had to wrestle.
So yeah, we never got in that situation, but if we were ever out at a bar or something in trouble, at least I knew I had some backup. But so yeah, one of the reasons we're here, Josh is he's been a good friend, and he's a hard worker, and he's had a really successful real estate career, which I know you really enjoy. You're still doing that, but I guess your passion, I have different passions, and one thing that you wanted to do is start Kind Lips, which is a lip balm company.
Yeah.
You can tell us a little bit.
So yeah, I've been doing real estate for about 12 years now, and loved it for 10 of those years. So in about that 10th year, I realized that I wasn't honestly as passionate as I was, and I tell people my life would be a lot easier now if I was still really passionate about it, because Kind Lips has been a lot of work. And I got to the point in my real estate career where I had more money and time than I thought I'd ever need, and then all of a sudden I realized that wasn't what mattered to me. And I was literally sitting on this couch one day figuring out what's next, what can I do with my life, and I was twirling a lip balm around, and weirdly enough, even to my surprise, I was like, I love lip balm, I can do this, it can't be rocket science, and I've never found a lip balm that I truly cared about or liked, and I'd always been trying every lip balm I could find. So that's kind of where the idea of creating a lip balm company came from. And when I came up with the idea, I was like, well, I can't compete with the big players. What's like a niche product I can do? And so I was thinking of these ideas and came up with I was reading a lot about the power of our words, and there's this Japanese scientist, Dr. Emoto, and he does this rice study and water study, and he basically gives physical proof for how our words can change energies, can just is really amazing stuff that it's hard to imagine because we don't see it in our everyday life. And so I was going to call it Blessed Lips, and it was going to be essentially kosher for lip balm. And I'm sitting on this couch, and I was coming up with this idea, and I was like, oh, this is a really good idea, patting myself on the back. And my mom happened to call me, and I had a conversation with her about some family stuff for 10, 15 minutes, and I told her this idea after that conversation, and I was waiting for this really big pat on the back from my mom telling me how smart I am and feed my ego, and she was just like, oh, you'll be great at whatever you do. And she's like, I gotta go. And typical mom stuff, but I really appreciate it, but I got off the phone and I was like, oh, maybe it's not as good of an idea as I thought it was. And went about my night, and the next morning it was 6 a.m. right on the dot, and my phone was ringing. And picked it up, and it was my mom calling, and I'm like, crap, who died? Like, why is she calling me so early? And so I answered the phone, and she's like, I've been up for 3 hours. She's been waiting to call you. I couldn't sleep last night. She's like, I had this crazy dream. So I was like, tell me about it. And she had a dream when me and my sister were really young, and we'd get in these fights, and always my sister's fault. And
is she older or younger?
She's 2 years older.
Okay.
So we were in these fights, and I would, we'd say mean things and whatever. My punishment was I had to write sentences instead of like getting a spanking or doing whatever. She'd make me sit down and write sentences. So I had to write the law of kindness is on my lips. So my mom in this dream saw me writing the law of kindness is on my lips over and over again. And every time I would write it, kind and lips flew off the page at her. And she goes, if you do this lip balm thing, I think you're supposed to call it Kind Lips. and it's for everybody, just not some niche group. And I had chills go down my spine. I was like, that's it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was just so like perfect and simple, because obviously lip balm goes on your lips, your words come out of your lips, and every time, I know I've always used lip balm, and I pull it out of my pocket, and you see it all the time, 5, 10, 15 times a day. So it's just always that reminder for me to be kind.
I mean, that's like with my lip balm, like I'm always losing it too. So if you get a customer like me, I need to buy like 25 of them, because I got one in my pocket, one in my car, one at home. But that's crazy. That's an awesome story.
Yeah.
So, and then you have so you kind of mix the kind lips in with a mission statement, or I don't know what you call it, like a anti-bullying? Or?
Yeah, so giving back has always been something that I was raised with. When I was little, I'd go to church and my mom would I'd get an allowance of $1 a week. And so I always had to bring a dime to church to give away. So I was taught that 10% of my income should go to something, whether it's church or charity or whatnot. And so since I've grown up, that's always been a value that's been instilled in me. And a few years ago with my own personal life, I wanted to start giving more, and it got really hard. I kept challenging myself to give 20% instead of 10, and I just never got around to doing it.
Well, we've talked about it, like having drinks and dinner. It's like you meet, like I know, like charity, it's like, okay, like I'll go online and PayPal some money here and there, but it's like kind of here and there. It's never consistent.
Yeah.
And you've always told me or gave me good advice, like, no, it's like do it consistently, and like, it will come back full circle.
Yeah, and I've seen it in my life, and so with Kind Lips, I was like, I want to give back, and 10% isn't enough. I need to give 20%, because if I don't start with 20% right away, it's going to be too hard to get there later. So I was like, what goes along with kindness? What's a charity? What are organizations that there's a huge need for right now? And anti-bullying was something that I felt is very prevalent in our society and our school systems. And I wanted to make sure that the profits from Kind Lips were going to anti-bullying charities to help prevent it.
That's awesome. So do you like work with schools or like
So there's two charities, PACER, which is one of the country's largest anti-bullying charities, which is based out of Bloomington, and also Youth Frontiers, which goes into school systems, and they do kindness retreats and different seminars to teach kids kindness. And they're out of Edina. So I teamed up with them, and in the meantime, like when I first started Kind Lips, I didn't know I still don't know what I'm doing. And I had a teacher reach out, and she's like, can I get 30 of them for my classroom? She's like, well, kids are kind of all over the place, it'd be a fun tool to see how that works. And I was like, absolutely, that's a great idea. And so she gave them to her classroom, and she said after a couple weeks, her classroom completely changed. And she said the students started reminding each other to put their kind lips on if they were, being mean to one another. And she said our classroom went from being really rambunctious to like a really pleasant, one of her best classrooms ever. So then she told her principal about it, and then the principal wanted to buy it for the rest of the school and do it that way. And then I had another, kind of when I first started, somebody had bought 40 or 45 of them on my website, and I had no idea. I'm like, why would somebody buy that many lip balms? Because I wouldn't go online and do it. And she reached out to me like 2 months later, and she said that she had given them to everyone on her office floor in their cubes, and she said it wasn't that pleasant of a place to work at. And she said after a month and a half, everyone in the office noticed it was a lot better place to be working at, because people would remind each other to speak kind words if somebody was gossiping, and no one can get mad at the person for saying, oh, go put your kind lips on. And then people would see the tube of lip balm sitting on their cubicle in the morning, and they would remind them to give a compliment to somebody. So I've been growing and learning from what other people are experiencing, and it's kind of like this culture shift. Beside being a really good lip balm, in my opinion, it's also a behavior modification tool that I didn't understand or see that happening.
It's interesting. Yeah, I guess when I think of when I heard the anti-bullying, I definitely think of kids.
Yeah.
In school. I probably was that. Well, I know I was. I was not the nicest kid. That's the one thing I want to teach my kids. It's like, I just want them to be like a nice kid, like to anybody in school. That's the one thing I hope for, is kindness. And like this day and age too, things are just tougher. So going to schools and stuff, and hopefully the kids, I know like when you're a kid, you don't always listen to the adults, but it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's been really rewarding. And so I was trying to, after, the school stuff came up, I was like, how can I get this into the school system? So that's where like the Youth Frontiers, which is already doing programs in schools, that stuff is helping. And then I kind of was like, how can I just do this, like continue to move this product into schools and build on that mission of spreading kindness. And so I created like a little card that goes along with each lip balm, and it tried to create a social media interaction between the student and other students where they had like a to-do list of hashtag say something kind about another student and post it online. So that way we got students in the habit of speaking kind words about other students, because so much of the bullying that happens is on social media now. So the more that we can get them in that behavior of doing that, and then also devise an email that the principals will send home to the families after their kids get that lip balm, and it creates an interaction at the home, hopefully, which it's a reminder that goes out to the parents, like have a conversation with their kids about the power of their words. Are they being bullied? That sort of stuff, because I'm sure after a long day of work, parents come home and kids come home and everybody just wants to eat and watch TV and do their homework, go to bed. And I've had really good feedback on the interactions that are happening at home, which I think is where a lot of the changes can be made.
That's awesome. So where would somebody buy it?
Yeah, so we started just selling it on our website, and had no other choice because that was the only place that anybody knew where it was. And then there's about 55 local boutiques and hair salons that it's selling at. Got my first grocery store deal with Coburn's, so that's really exciting for us. And recently we just got on Amazon, and Amazon is hopefully going to be a big distribution center for us. And so it's not the best for us right now, but I think long run, if people would go to Amazon and buy it and leave a hopefully kind review, that would be really helpful.
Well, yeah, now that people can obviously go to your website, now that they know it's in Colburn's, they can obviously go there. But if you're like my wife, who does all of our shopping, we've got 2 little kids. She's doing everything on Amazon, so it's good for people to know that they can get it there. But that's cool, man. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great product. It's even better knowing the full story. And I think I knew a little bit of that, but hearing the thing about your mom and hearing how it actually is helping kids in school, I mean, our goal needs to be to get kind lips in every school across the country. I
mean, that's my goal, and I really want to, Minnesota's home. And even though I wasn't born here and didn't move here, I've been here for long enough now where this is home. And it's fun to be in this community. And I really, everyone talks about Minnesota nice. And I think the idea of it is great. But there's a big difference between being nice and being kind. And so I really want to start this movement of Minnesota kind. And I want to change culture here. And I think that, I know I can't change culture, but I think kind lips can change culture. So I want to continue to get it on everybody's lips.
All right, well, let's start tomorrow. Let's start today. Thanks, Josh, and I hope everybody learned a little bit about Josh today and kind lips. It's very inspiring. If you are inspired by his story, by his mission, please go to his website or find him on social and get some kind lips in your kids' schools, your home, or your workplace, and together we'll make a better world. Thank you.